right, 1.7. We're going to be solving inequalities. So inequalities are greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to signs. So we solve them pretty much the same as if it was just an equal sign. But one thing that we have to keep in mind is when we're multiplying each side of an inequality by a negative, we have to reverse the direction of the inequality. So this is super, super important. If you are multiplying or dividing by a negative, you have to flip the inequality. So if it was a greater than, you got to make it a less than. So let's look at the first example at the top here. So we want to solve this the same way we would if we had a equal to. So we want to put all the x's on one side, the numbers on the other. So what should we do first?
Subtract the 9.
Perfect. We want to subtract the 9x and combine it with the 3x. 3x minus 9x is what? Negative 6x. So negative 6x is less than 4. How do I get the x all by itself? Divide by negative 6. And what did we say we have to do if we divide by a negative number? We flip the inequality. So instead of being a less than, it now flips to a greater than. The negative is going to be now on the right side. If you divide or multiply by a negative number, you have to flip the inequality. How could I simplify 4 over 6? So it'll be negative 2 over 3. All right, so this is our answer, but we got to write the answer a different way. It says that we have to sketch the solution. So we're going to put this on a number line. So when we graph our inequalities, we're putting it on a number line. So I'll put 0 on my number line here. We've got negative 1, positive 1. Now, negative 2/3 is going to be to the left of 0 because it's less than 0. It's negative. But it's not quite to negative 1. So it'll be somewhere in the middle here. So I can put negative 2/3 here. Now, when we sketch our point, if it is just a greater than or a less than, we put an open circle at the point. If it is a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, we put a closed circle at the point. So here, would we put an open circle or closed circle? Open circle at our point. Now we're talking about x values that are greater than negative 2/3. So do you think I would shade to the right of this point or to the left? If it's greater than x values that are greater than negative 2/3, to the right. We shade to the right. If your x comes first, the inequality kind of tells you what direction to color in. So here, it's almost like a arrow that goes to the right. So we're going to shade to the right. But this only works when your x comes first. So if you had x is greater than, you're going to shade in the right direction.
That's pretty cool.
You can also check by plugging in a number. So we shaded over 0 or 1. So if I plugged in 1, is 1 greater than negative 2/3? Yeah. So that just confirms that we're shading in the direction of 1.
So we should always put the x on the left side?
Yeah. Sometimes when you're solving, like it might be easier to put it on one side or the other. But if it was on the other side, then you would just flip. So just be careful with which direction you're shading. Second way that we need to leave our answer, I guess third, because this would be the second, is we have to write this in interval notation. So in interval notation, we start with the smaller number. All right, so we start going from the left to the right. So the first number that we reach is negative 2/3. So I'm going to put a parentheses, negative 2/3. And then our arrow is going to the right forever. So it's going to go in the direction of infinity. Perfect. Now, if it is an open circle, we put parentheses. If it's a closed circle, we would put brackets at the number. Infinity always gets parentheses, though. This third way is called interval notation. WebAssign might want, I think, these two ways. But you got to find this way first to then figure out the other two. So you kind of have to find all three. This is going to be on the test next week. Yep. Nope, no quiz, just test. All right, let's take a look at number 2. So number 2, we have 2 inequalities. So we can kind of treat it as if it were 2 separate equations, but we're going to do it all together. So I want to get the x all by itself in the middle. So how would I get rid of everything else from the middle? What should I do first? Add 2 to both sides, but not just both sides. I'm going to add it to all 3 sides. In the middle, it's going to cancel, and then I got to add it to the left and to the right. So 4 plus 2 would be 6, is less than or equal to 3x, which is less than 15. What should we do next? Divide by 3. So I'm going to divide everything by 3. So we have 2 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 5. Once we get the x all by itself, we're done. So let's put this on a number line. We always want to start with the smaller number. So I have 2 and 5. At 2, am I going to put an open or closed circle?
Close.
I'm going to put a closed circle because it is a less than or equal to. That equal to means that it's a closed circle. What about at 5? Open circle.
Bless you.
Now let's see, are we shading in between 2 and 5 or outside of 2 and 5? What's a number in between 2 and 5 that we could test?
3.
3. So if I plugged in 3 here, is 2 less than 3? Yep. Is 3 less than 5? Yeah. So what do you think? We're shading in between or outside? In between. Since it was true and it's in between, we're going to shade in between these 2 numbers. So that's how we'd put it on a number line. Perfect. Next, let's write it in interval notation. So interval notation, we start with the smaller number first. So 2 is going to come first. Would 2 get a bracket or parentheses? A bracket, since it's a closed circle. Where does our graph stop on our number line? At 5. Would it get a bracket or parentheses? A parentheses. So these are our 3 answers. If it is a closed circle, it gets a bracket. If it's an open circle, it gets a parentheses. All right, let's go to the next page. We want to solve the expression and write our answer in interval notation. So that's the one with parentheses and brackets and graph. So we got to put it on a number line. So it's asking us for all 3 things here. Number 1 is missing an x. So we're just going to skip that. Let's look at number 2. Yeah. What should we do first for number 2? Subtract 11. We're going to move the numbers to one side, keep the x's on the other. So 3x is less than -6. Perfect. What should we do next? Divide by 3. If we're dividing by 3, do we have to switch this inequality? No, only when you're multiplying or dividing by a negative. So what's -6 divided by 3? -2. So x is less than -2. So let's put this on a number line. So I have 0 here. -2 would be to the left. At -2, we put a bracket or parentheses? Or I mean an open or closed circle? Open circle, because it's just a less than sign. Which direction am I going to shade? To the left. This arrow is pointing in the left direction. So we're going to shade to the left. Now let's write it in interval notation. Cole, how would we start?
Parentheses -2.
No, start with the smaller number, which would be... Which direction is the arrow going?
Left.
To -infinity. Perfect. So we start with -infinity. So you always start your interval notation just like your graph from left to right. So since our graph is going to the left forever, we start with negative infinity. And where does our graph end? -2. Would -2 get a bracket or parentheses? A parentheses since it's an open circle. So these would be our 3 answers. All right, let's do the next one. So what should we do first here?
Subtract 5.
We can subtract 5. So we have -4 is less than -2x. What can we do next? Divide by -2. So what's -4 divided by -2?
2.
+2. What do we do when we divide by a negative though?
Flip the sign.
We have to flip the sign. So that less than sign now turns to greater than. Now when we put this on a number line, we have to be careful because does not come first. So just keep that in mind. So we've got 0, 2 is going to be to the right of it. At 2, do we put an open or closed circle? An open circle.
To the right.
Now be careful. 2 is greater than x. So if I plugged in 0 here, is 2 greater than 0? Yeah, which tells me that I'm going to shade in the direction of 0. So I'm going to shade to the left here. So you can plug in a number and see. So if I plugged in 0, is 2 greater than 0? Yeah, so it's true. So we shade in the direction of 0. If you wanted to plug in like 3, 3 would be on the right side. Is 2 greater than 3? No, so this is not true. We don't shade in that direction. So you can always check that way. When x comes first, you shade in the direction of your arrow. The inequality kind of gives you an arrow to shade in. But here x doesn't come first, so it's actually the opposite. If you wanted to flip it, you can. We can say x is less than 2. Just make sure your inequality flips with it. If the inequality is pointing in this direction towards the x, it's got to flip this way towards the x. Lastly, let's write our answer in interval notation. How would we start here? Negative infinity, since it's pointing to the left forever, it'd be negative infinity to what number? To 2. Bracket or parentheses? Parentheses, since it's an open circle. So these are 3 answers. So looking at number 4, what should we do first? Let's distribute. So 14x minus 6 is less than or equal to 12x plus 16. My suggestion would be move the x's to the left. That way we have x on the left side and we can know what direction our arrow is going to point in a little bit easier. So what should we do first here? Let's subtract 12x. What else could we do? Add 6. Perfect. We'll do 2 steps at once. 14x minus 12x would be what? 2x is less than or equal to, what's 16 plus 6? 22. What should we do next? Divide by 2. So x is less than or equal to 11. So let's put that on our number line. If I had 0 here, 11 is going to be to the right in the positive direction. At 11, do we have an open or closed circle? Closed circle, because it's less than or equal to. So closed circle. Which direction are we going to shade? We're going to shade to the left. When x comes first, the arrow here, inequality, tells us which direction. So we go to the left. But x is less than 11. If I were to plug in a number, if I said 0 is less than or equal to 11, is this true? Yeah, 0 is less than 11, so I'm going to shade in the direction of 0. So we shade to the left. Now, how would we write this in interval notation? Negative infinity comes first, because negative infinity is smaller. To what number? To 11. Bracket or parentheses at 11?
Bracket.
Bracket. So these would be our 3 answers. Any questions here? Yeah.
Infinity is always gonna have parentheses.
Infinity or negative infinity will always have parentheses, yes. All right, last one. Let's do number 5. So here we have 2 inequalities. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other as well. What should we do first?
Add 4.
Let's add 4. So if I add 4, I got to do it on the left and the right. So 5 plus 4 would be what? So 9 is less than or equal to 3x, which is less than or equal to 18. What should we do next? Divide everything by 3. So 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 6. So this is one part of our answer. Let's put it on a number line. So we always want to start with the smaller number. So we've got 3 and then 6. At 3, do I put an open or closed circle? Closed circle because it's less than or equal to. What about at 6? Closed circle because it's less than or equal to also. Now let's see, are we shading in between 3 and 6 or outside of 3 and 6? Well, let's test a number. What's a number in between 3 and 6? Sure, 5. If I plugged in 5 here, is 3 less than 5? Yeah, that's true. Is 5 less than 6? Yep. So what do you think, in between or outside? In between. Since it's true, we shade where that number is. So that would be in between our 2 numbers.
And how about if the
Let's say we had tested 7. So 7's on the outside here. 3 is less than 7. Okay, that's true. But is 7 less than 6? No. So then 7 wouldn't work. So we don't shade in that direction. So it has to work in both of them.
Is that right?
So Cole, how would we write our interval notation?
Bracket 3, comma 6 bracket.
Bracket 3 and bracket 6. So we're shading in between 3 and 6. So from 3 to 6. And they both get brackets because they're both closed circles. All right, for number 6, what should we do first?
Add 4.
Let's add 4. We got to add it to the left and the right. So negative 8 plus 4 would be negative 4 is less than or equal to 5x, which is less than or equal to 9. What should we do next? Divide by 5. So negative 4 over 5 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 9 over 5. We have fractions, but that's okay. Let's put it on a number line. Which one's smaller? Negative 4 over 5. It's negative, so we know that it's going to be smaller. So that one's going to go to the left, negative 4 over 5. 9 over 5 goes to the right. At negative 4 over 5, do we have an open or closed circle? Closed circle, because it's less than or equal to. What about at 9 over 5? Closed circle, because it's less than or equal to. Do we shade in between or outside? Let's test a number. What's a number in between negative 4 over 5 and 9 over 5? 0. I mean, there's lots of numbers in between that you can try, but 0 is going to be a nice, easy one to try. So is negative 4 over 5 less than 0? Yes. Is 0 less than 9 over 5? Yes. So since it works in both of them, it's true. We're going to shade where 0 is, which is in between. So now let's write this in interval notation. How would we start?
Bracket negative 4 over 5.
Bracket negative 4 over 5
Bracket 9 over 5.
and 9 over 5 bracket. Perfect. So these are 3 answers. Last one, let's do 7. What should we do first? Subtract 7 on both sides. So negative 3 minus 7 would be negative 10 is less than or equal to 3x, which is less than or equal to. Here, we got to subtract 7. So 1/2 minus 7 over 1. What do we need when we're adding or subtracting with fractions? Common denominator. So we can make this 14 over 2. What's 1 minus 14? Negative 13 over 2. What should we do next? divide by 3. So here we get negative 10 over 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to. When we divide by 3 here, we have to be careful. Anybody know what we do when we have a fraction in a fraction? Keep, change, flip. We're going to keep the top, change to multiplication, and flip the denominator. So our denominator is 3 over 1. When we flip it, it becomes 1 over 3. And how do we multiply fractions? Straight across. So we'd get negative 13 over 6. So if you have a fraction and a fraction, keep, change, flip. Keep the top, change to multiplication, flip the bottom. Which number is smaller? Negative 10 over 3 is actually smaller because it's a bigger negative, right? So negative 10 over 3 would come first on the left. You could always check to see which one's smaller, just divide. How many times does 3 go into 10? 3, and with 1 left over, so it'd be negative 3 and 1/3. How many times does 6 go into 13? 2, so it'd be 2 and 1/6. So which one's smaller? Negative 3 and 1/3, because it's a bigger negative number. So that one would come first. And then negative 13 over 6 would be next. Here it's a little bit more challenging to tell which, like a number in between to plug in. But we just follow the same rules that we've been doing. We're going to shade in between for these two. So would I put an open or closed circle at negative 10 over 3? Closed circle, because it's a less than or equal to. What about at negative 13 over 6? Closed circle. And we would shade in between. So same thing that we've been doing. You'd want to check for most of them. But this one, we'll just assume that it's in between. But if you want to find a number in between these two, you can. A number in between would be like 3, negative 3. If we look at like these two numbers, the mixed numbers, negative 3 and 1/3 is less than negative 3, so that's true. Negative 3 is less than negative 2 and 1/6, so that's true. So it might help just to look at your mixed numbers when you're checking. Find a whole number in between. How would we write this in interval notation? Bracket negative 10 over 3 and negative 13 over 6 bracket. So these are 3 answers.